Hello my dear students, welcome to the session of Classroom TV on this new topic, mineral and power resources. Mineral and power resources. What is mineral? What is power? What are resources? We will understand. As is the wont of NCERT, you have to get yourselves involved in a situation and then try to appreciate, and then let us go into the lesson like a precursor or a curtain raiser. The story goes like this. Kiri was visiting Sukant in his native place near Dhanbad. Dhanbad is in Bihar. Kiri was amazed to see that large areas were black. Sukant, why is this so black and dusty? She asked. This is because of the coal mines nearby. Do you see the trucks? They are carrying the mineral coal, replied Sukant. What minerals? Asked Kiri. So Kiri was visiting Sukant in his native place near Dhanbad. Kiri was amazed to see that large areas were black. So the question was asked, why is this place so black and dusty? This is because of the coal mines nearby. Do you see the trucks? They are carrying the mineral coal. Do you see the trucks? They are carrying the mineral coal, replied. What are minerals? Was the natural query that followed from Kiri. Sukant replied. Let us now see his reply. Have you ever seen a baker baking biscuits? The flour, milk, sugar and sometimes eggs are mixed together. While eating the baked cakes, can you see these ingredients separately? Ingredients, the components. Just as in the biscuits, there are a number of things that you cannot see. Rocks on this earth have several materials called minerals mixed in them. These minerals are scattered throughout the earth's rocky crust, is the reply given to him. Now, when you see at the cookies, biscuits, you can't make out the flour, milk, sugar and sometimes egg in all these things. Can you make out? No. We just enjoy eating the cookie. So with this information, with this background, now let us go to the lesson. What is a mineral? The definition says, a naturally occurring substance that has a definite chemical composition is a mineral. It occurs naturally. Substance that has a definite chemical composition, chemical formulae you learn. Minerals are not evenly distributed over space. They are concentrated in a particular area or rock formations. They are spread wherever they are, like not evenly distributed, randomly. Some minerals are found in areas which are not easily accessible, such as Arctic Ocean bed and Antarctica. We in the previous sessions we discussed about Arctic and Antarctic. Very difficult to go. So even though minerals are there, as on date, we are unable to explore and exploit them. Minerals are formed in different types of geological environments under varying conditions. Geological environments, earth-related environments under varying conditions of temperature, pressure, cold, all these reasons. These are the different kinds of minerals what you come across. They are created by natural process without any human interference. They are deep inside the earth or somewhere on the surface or sometimes on the surface of the earth, but because of thousands, hundreds of years of action on the components, such things are formed. Now, for example, this is a diamond. After you cut and polish it, but otherwise a rough uncut diamond is like this. Now, when carbon deep inside the earth is subjected to thousands of degrees of temperature and high pressure, it becomes like this. And when this is polished, you get this sparkling diamond. Diamond also is a mineral made up of only pure carbon. They can be identified on the basis of the physical properties such as color, density, hardness, and chemical properties such as solubility. You can see the different colors. You identify them by their color. We can make out their composition, hardness, and diamond is of course the hardest. Such as solubility, sometimes they dissolve. The salt in our food and graphite in pencil are also minerals. The common salt what we eat is also mineral. Graphite in the pencils what you use is also mineral, form of carbon. These are all minerals. Now minerals can be classified into two types. There are over 1,000 different minerals. A rock is an aggregate of one or more minerals but without definite composition of a constituent of mineral, one component. It is not a definite composition of one particular thing, there is no fixed ratio. It is a mixture of all these things. It is an aggregate, a sum of all the components but not necessarily in a fixed ratio. Rocks from which minerals are mined are known as ores. Rocks from which individual minerals, when we mine them means separate them, segregate them, they are called ores. Although more than 2,000 types of minerals have been identified, only about 100 are covered as considered as minerals. Over 2,800 have been identified, but only 100 are treated as minerals. Minerals are classified mainly as metallic and non-metallic minerals. And again in these metallic minerals, we have segregated as ferrous and non-ferrous. Ferrous means which contain iron, containing iron and not containing iron, though they all come under metallic category, and non-metallic. So let us now see what is metallic and non-metallic mineral. Metallic minerals contain metal in raw form. In the pure form we need to separate them to get all the actual final metal, but in the ore it is found in the raw form. Metals are hard substances that conduct heat and electricity and have characteristic luster. Luster means shine. If you look at these minerals, metals, you have steel, iron, brass, and then aluminium, cast iron, copper, all these they conduct electricity. Now in the common house wiring in your house, what do you have? You say copper wire. And in the kitchen you have utensils. The nuts and bolts are made of iron. And in kitchen some of the utensils are of aluminium, some are of steel. They are all sourced after extracting these ores, we get that pure metal. Iron ore, bauxite and manganese, they are the metallic minerals. Metallic minerals may be ferrous or non-ferrous, containing iron or no iron. Ferrous minerals like iron ore, manganese and chromites contain iron. So it is a mixture of different metals in the ore. We need to separate them. Metal and ore are totally different. Metals are independent metals. They could be part of an ore. So when you crush the ore, separate them, you get all these metals. So the ores minerals which contain iron ore, manganese and chromites contain iron, they are called ferrous minerals, metallic minerals. These are all the metallic minerals. These are the different types of minerals which all are metallic minerals. All of them contain iron. This reddish colored tinge is an indicator of having iron in that. A non-ferrous mineral does not contain iron but may contain some other metal such as gold, silver, copper or lead. A non-ferrous mineral does not contain iron but may contain some other metal. It could be metal but it is non-iron. Non-metallic minerals do not contain metals. The next is metallic, non-metallic, ferrous and non-ferrous. So, non-metallic minerals do not contain metal. The name itself is very clear. Non-metallic minerals do not contain metal. Here quartz, gypsum, calcite, kaolin, mica, all these things are non-metallic things. Limestone, mica and gypsum are examples of such minerals. Coke is also a mineral. The mineral fuels like coal and petroleum are also non-metallic minerals. Non-metallic minerals. Now, how do we extract whatever the metal we need to? So, we learn about extraction of minerals. For extraction of minerals, the methods are mining, drilling and quarrying, the three methods what we say. And in mining we have open cast mining and shaft mining. We will learn one by one now. Extraction of minerals involves mining, drilling and quarrying, and in mining we have open cast mining and shaft mining. The process of taking out minerals from rocks buried under the earth surface is called mining. How to define mining? The process of taking out minerals from the rocks buried under the earth surface is called mining. Minerals that lie at shallow depths. Shallow means not very deep, not very deep. Minerals that lie at shallow depths are taken out by removing the surface layer. This is known as open cast mining. Since they are not very deep, you don't have to go dig deep, only the superficial layer is removed. The shallow depth, it is called open cast mining. Only the top surface layer is little amount of layer is removed, and this is all useful for mining. This is called open cast mining. Deep bores have to be made to reach mineral deposits that lie at great depths and is called shaft mining. Now sometimes some of these ores are pretty deep inside the earth. Then you make a tunnel and you go, even the rails are laid, rail tracks, wheel tracks are laid, because the ores are pretty heavy. You load them into these trailers and then trolleys and then push them, or even sometimes you do have even trains also to lug all these things. This is called shaft mining. This is open cast mining and this is shaft mining. Petroleum and natural gas occur far below the earth's surface. Petroleum and natural gas occur far below the earth's surface. Deep wells are bored to take them out, and this is called drilling. You drill, like you must be knowing about you sink a bore well to extract water deep inside the earth, which must be common knowledge. Here, they go hundreds of feet deep inside the earth to get oil, petroleum. This is drilling. Minerals that lie near the surface are simply dug out by the process known as quarrying. This is under the surface, and now what we are going to discuss is on the surface. It's called quarrying. Here this white stone, the marble stone is being, in this picture you see marble stone being cut. So it's not very deep. These are found on the surface of the earth, just barely above near the surface. So this is quarrying. So we learnt 4 terms. Open cast mining is the first picture, shaft mining is the second one, drilling and quarrying. These 4 terms you should understand, hope you understood, and do remember them properly. And now we will see where the minerals are distributed on this, the distribution of these minerals on the earth. Minerals occur in different types of rocks. Some are found in igneous rocks, some in metamorphic rocks, while others are in sedimentary rocks. Now, we should understand what is igneous rock, what is metamorphic rock, and what is sedimentary rock. This is igneous rock. This igneous rock is found deep inside the earth in the molten rock when it cools over thousands of years and solidifies. This is called igneous rock. It's called igneous rock. And then metamorphic. The name itself is metamorphosis. You must see in a butterfly. For some larva it goes to butterfly. Metamorphosis. So what happens? Different types of rocks club together. They metamorphize and due to pressure they get. So in this metamorphic rock you can see these layers because of the different types of rocks melt and come together. That's why you have these layers, different layers. You can see these white stripes. So these rocks are, igneous rocks are pretty hard. Granite example of igneous rock, the granite what used for flooring. Metamorphic rocks are not as hard as igneous rocks. And then we have these sedimentary rocks. Whatever the sediment, sand and other decayed animals or decayed microorganisms, all these things, they come together and then solidify over a period of thousands of years. They are sedimentary rocks. Igneous rocks, metamorphic rocks and sedimentary rocks. Generally, metallic minerals are found in igneous and metamorphic rock formations that form large plateaus. They are formed deep inside the earth, they are formed. Metallic minerals. Iron ore in North Sweden, copper and nickel deposits in Ontario, Canada, iron, nickel, chromitis and platinum in South Africa are examples of minerals found in igneous and metamorphic rocks. So you now have a clear idea of what igneous, metamorphic and sedimentary rocks are. Sedimentary rock formations of plains and young fold mountains contain non-metallic minerals like limestones. Here understand the difference. Sedimentary rock formations. Metallic minerals are found in igneous and metamorphic rocks, and non-metallic forms, non-metallic minerals like limestone are found in sedimentary rock formations of plains and young fold mountains. Now comes question, what is a fold mountain? A fold mountain is one that is formed when two tectonic plates come together and the mountains rise up. The best example is Himalayas. The Himalayas were, you must study in the previous class. They are totally different land masses. Over a period of time, they came closer and closer. When the Indo-Australian plate hit the Eurasian plate, Europe and Australia, Asian plate, the Himalayan mountains, they came up. So what happens is, in the process of over a period of hundreds of years, slowly one tectonic plate or one landmass comes and hits another landmass, and in this course what happens, the molten lava and all these things, they come up, and it's called fold mountains. Fold mountains. They are young. So in these young fold mountains, you find non-metallic minerals like limestone. If a rock contains copper, then the rock looks blue in color. There is no because here. If a rock contains copper, it looks blue in color. When you find such a mineral, you can make out it is copper. Limestone deposits of Caucasus regions of France, manganese deposits of Georgia and Ukraine, and phosphate beds of Algeria are some other examples. Mineral fuels such as coal and petroleum are also found in the sedimentary strata. Mineral fuels such as petroleum are all coal and petroleum. Now, How did coal and petroleum form? Over millions of years ago, whatever the organic matter, it decayed, got crushed for whatever reason we do not know, went deep into the layers of the earth, and due to immense pressure, due to anaerobic oxidation, in the absence of oxygen, they all got converted into petroleum and gas and coal. So they are found in the sedimentary rock region, sedimentary strata. In these layers, you get these mineral fuels. And how do you dig? You again drill a hole and then you take out them. Then we will go to see in which continent what are available, a quick glance. In Asia, we have China and India have large iron ore deposits. Iron ore deposits are have large iron ore deposits in India and Asia, China and India. The continent produces more than half of the world's tin. From this you get tin. China, Malaysia and Indonesia are among the world's leading tin producers. China also leads in production of lead, antimony and tungsten, other metals. Asia also has deposits of manganese, bauxite, nickel, zinc and copper. Suffice to learn that you learn all these names, remember them for your examinations. Then after Asia, we go to Europe. Let us see. Europe is the leading producer of iron ore in the world. Again same. It also has sufficient iron ore deposits. The countries with large deposits of iron ore are Russia, Ukraine, Sweden and France. Mineral deposits of copper, lead, zinc, manganese and nickel are found in Eastern Europe and European Russia. It's also here you have copper, lead, zinc, all these, nickel, band, all those things. Switzerland has no mineral deposits in it, peculiar. Switzerland has no known mineral deposit in its geographical limits. Then we go to North America. The mineral deposits in North America are located in 3 zones: the Canadian region north of Great Lakes, the Appalachian region and the mountain ranges of the west. In these ranges you have them. Iron ore, nickel, gold, uranium and copper are mined in the Canadian Shield region and coal in Appalachian region. Nickel, and here you have this gold. You see the luster, you can see the shine, sparkling, it's nickel. Western Cordilleras have vast deposits of copper, lead, zinc, gold and silver. Then we go to South America. Brazil is the largest producer of high grade iron ore in the world. We now know the color of iron ore will be red. Chile and Peru are leading producers of copper. Brazil and Bolivia are among the world's largest producers of tin. South America also has large deposits of gold, silver, zinc, chromium, manganese, bauxite, mica, platinum, asbestos and diamond. You can see again gold, silver all mixed. This sparkle gives out this one. And this is mica. And here you have your diamonds. Kimberlite, what you say. Mineral oil is found in Venezuela, Argentina, Chile, Peru and Colombia. This petroleum is found in these countries also. Then comes Africa. Africa is rich in mineral resources. It is the world's largest producer of diamonds, gold and platinum. It's the world's largest producer of diamonds, gold and platinum. And you know, a green diamond is the rarest diamond. This one. Very precious, very rare. South Africa, Zimbabwe and Zaire produce a large portion of the world's gold. The other minerals found in Africa are copper, iron ore, chromium, uranium, cobalt and bauxite. Chromium, and then here you have cobalt. Chromium and cobalt. Oil is found in Nigeria, Libya and Angola. Then comes Australia. Australia is the largest producer of bauxite in the world, bauxite from which we extract aluminium. This one. It is a leading producer of gold, diamond, iron ore, tin and nickel. It is also rich in copper, lead, zinc and manganese. Kalgoorlie and Coolgardie areas of Western Australia have the largest deposits of gold. Kalgoorlie and Coolgardie areas of Western Australia have the largest deposits of gold. And other thing is, the oldest rocks in the world are in Western Australia. These things. They date from 4,300 million years ago, only 300 million years after the earth was formed. Barely after 300 millions after the earth was formed, these rocks were formed. And then here what happened, the fossilized microorganisms were found, and through carbon dating they could detect the date as and the age as 4,300 million years on these rocks. Pretty interesting. And coming last to Antarctica. The geology of Antarctica is sufficiently well known to predict the existence of variety of mineral deposits, some probably large, because exploration in Antarctica is very difficult. But going by the trend and geological analysis, the scientists were able to predict that huge deposits are available, mineral deposits are available in Antarctica, but difficult to extract them. Significant size of deposits of coal in the Trans-Antarctic Mountains and iron near the Prince Charles Mountains of East Antarctica is forecasted. Yes, the scientists have predicted that sufficient size of coal deposits of coal in the Trans-Antarctic Mountains. This deposits of coal. You can see this snow and ice, whatever you call it. And near the Prince Charles Mountains in East Antarctic or Trans-Antarctic Mountains, it is predicted. Iron ore, gold, silver and oil are also present in commercial quantities. Now, let us learn the uses of minerals. We learnt about the minerals, where they are found. Now we learn about their uses. Minerals are used in many industries. Yes. Minerals which are used for gems are usually hard. These in the jewelry they are used. Yellow stone, green stone, red stone, colorless stone, orange, all they are all what you call gems. They are very hard. This you must have seen in your house. Your parents or grandparents, whoever, they must be wearing in their jewelry, as on the rings, amulets, tops and jewelry. These things are worn, part of the jewelry. These are then set in various styles of jewelry. They are decorated within this gold or platinum or silver jewelry. These are the stone gems. They are decorated within these things. Copper is another metal used in everything from coins to pipes. One more commonly used is copper. Copper pipes used in your air conditioning systems, various other, even in refrigerators. And your copper wires, domestic wiring, industrial wiring, you have this all copper wires. And then silicon is used in the computer industry, is obtained from quartz. This is quartz. From this quartz, the components silicon used in computer industry is obtained from the quartz. Alumina obtained from its ore bauxite is used in automobiles and aeroplanes, bottling industry, building and even in kitchen cookware. Aluminium we all know like the back of our hand. This way. Your utensils, your cool drink canisters, food packing, door handles or car rims, bottles, door frames, car frames, engine frames, they are all made with aluminium, and this ore extracted from this bauxite. And we just now discussed Australia is the biggest producer of bauxite. Now we know we just consume everything, but we need to conserve also. Conservation of minerals also is important. Minerals are a non-renewable resource. We can't renew them, like we were discussing about water in the previous sessions, one of the sessions. Water we recycle it. Evaporation, condensation, precipitation, falling as rain and then runoff and then again it's recycling. But minerals, they are non-renewable resource because it takes millions of years for a mineral to form. It takes thousands of years for the formation and concentration of minerals. It's not that easy. The rate of formation is much smaller than the rate at which the humans consume these minerals. Now, we have seen those jewelry, all the gems extract from the earth and then start wearing them and then buy them and then keep them. What do? Keep them in bank lockers, safeguard them. They are not available. But as the population grows, if you want some more, where do you get? It takes again thousands of years for them to form. By this time, this generation would have passed and hundreds of generations would have come again. It is therefore necessary to reduce wastage in the process of mining. We should reduce the wastage. Recycling of metals is another way in which mineral resources can be conserved. Now, this recycling, with the best example is copper, easy to recycle. The electric wires, what the waste wires you cut after doing a wiring in home, they are all with the plastic tubing. They are taken there, crushed, plastic is separated and copper thing is separated and then dust is removed and then you get copper and then plastic. And again you melt it and convert again into wire form. So this way you recycle. So what we say, reduce first, recycle and reuse. Reduce the usage and then try to recycle and then reuse these precious minerals. After knowing about these minerals, now we will go to the power resources. This again, okay, story for you to appreciate the idea behind it. Sunny's mother begins her day by switching on the geyser. She irons Sunny's school uniform. Irons means when you press the dress. She irons Sunny's school uniform before waking him up. She then rushes to the kitchen to prepare a glass of orange juice for him in the blender. Sunny, have you finished taking bath? Come and have your breakfast, calls out mother while preparing breakfast on the gas stove for Sunny. While going to school, Sunny forgets to switch off lights and fans. A criminal waste of our power resources. Now, even in the classroom also, most of the children, as soon as the bell rings, you just rush out to the classroom. Take half a minute, one of you, switch off the lights and fans to conserve the electricity. It's very precious. When mother switches them off, she thinks that life in the cities may be comfortable, but its dependence on more and more gadgets, all of which consume energy, has led to a wide gap between the demand and supply. Now, especially in big cities, the electricity demand is very huge. And say for example, you are staying in apartments. Even young and healthy children or youth also, they prefer to use the lift for going up and climbing down. Instead, they can as well climb down the stairs and climb up the stairs. It will keep them healthy and also conserve power. No, but having got used to luxury of the lift, they prefer to go up and down through the lift, thereby compromising their health and compromising on power. And so in this situation, what happens, because lift is there and everybody wants to go, whether like it or not, more power is consumed. So the demand is rising, but the production is not rising parallelly, slowly. And when the demand becomes unbearable, there will be power outages. When the demand exceeds the supply, what happens? Power outages. They have to give one region one time, another region another time. They can't satisfy all the people all the time. That's why we should use these resources cautiously and judiciously. With the advent of science and technology, the lifestyles are changing very fast. We are getting used to luxuries. Now this geyser, most of the households have it. Coming to geyser also, we have one thing. See, you switch on the geyser and you forget to switch it off. The water heats up and then it cools off and then the thermostat working inside. So we didn't keep a track. And this is the blender which is used to make juice. Earlier it used to be a manual juicer. Now it's easy. Switch on the power, turn the knob and you get a juice. Life has become easy and comfortable. But at what cost? At the cost of power resources. Even fans, we don't switch off. You also, or when you go out of your classrooms, honestly, how many of you switch off the fan and light when you go out? Think and act responsibly. So, power or energy plays a vital role in our lives. We also need power for industry, agriculture, transport, communication, domestic consumption, defense, whatnot. Everywhere without power, we can't do. And even here, I'm teaching you with the help of power. So, power, without power, we are all a big zeros. Power resources may broadly be categorized as conventional and non-conventional resources. So, here conventional resources and non-conventional sources. Here we have coal, petroleum and electricity are the conventional source of power, and non-commercial are firewood. In most of the village, of course, now the usage of gas has slowly picked up, but by and large people prefer to use firewood. They get it free of cost from the forest and they still, or even purchase it's pretty priced very low. And straw and dried dung, these you find in remote villages still being used by the people. And non-conventional, bioenergy, solar energy, wind energy, tidal energy and energy from urban waste. These are all called non-conventional sources. And we will go in detail about these things in our next session. We will learn about all the conventional sources and non-conventional sources in the coming sessions. And don't forget to visit classroomtv.in, download the app, Classroom TV app, and you can see all the subjects: mathematics, physics, chemistry, biology, English, apart from social studies. You can view it any number of times till the end of year, till you understand these lessons. Have a good day.